JJ the CPA here. Hope you're doing well. Hey, thanks for watching. So listen, I think in this video, this is a key one to help make sure that you are achieving full forgiveness, even though your employees have not come back to work because they want to stay on PUA. So this would be for those that have received PPP and have employees, W-2 employees. And so for those that are in the circumstances where you got your PPP money and then you've told your employees, hey, listen, I can pay you now. Doesn't matter if you're opened or closed, right? Remember on PPP, it does not matter if you are opened or closed. It doesn't matter if you have something to do for that employee or not. The intent and your certification on that PPP application to get your PPP money, you stated that you were going to retain employees. Again, it doesn't matter if you have one thing for them to do or opened or closed, you must pay them, right? Well, what do you do in those circumstances where you're trying to do that? You say, hey, listen, it doesn't matter that we're open or closed. Doesn't matter if I have something for you to do or not, I can pay you. And PPP's designed, period, that you pay them what you were paying them. There's no paying them 75%. That's not how it works. You pay them what you were paying them. That's actually the first step to achieve, quote unquote, forgiveness. And remember, I'm going to tell you something at the end, why it wouldn't matter if you get full forgiveness. But here's what this whole video is about. I want to make sure you, as the employer, don't get penalized because you didn't document something that's very simple, but you have to document this. And it's super easy, but it's going to be one of those that are like, well, why didn't anybody tell you? JJ the CPA is telling you right now. So I'm tying together the SBA FAQs question number 40. You can go to my website. It's below jjthecpahelp.com. I've got the link there. There's no booby traps. You can just see it for yourself. But I am going to quickly indicate to you what it's saying. Will a borrower's, this is question 40, will a borrower's PPP loan forgiveness be reduced if the borrower laid off an employee, offered to rehire the same employee, but the employee declined the offer? And the answer is no, but you can't stop there. It's saying here that you won't get penalized. You won't get slapped upside your head if you, and you got to listen to the full sentence, if you offer to rehire, but then when you go down to the explanation, you must, it says you must, it literally says must, have a good faith written offer of rehire written, and the employee's rejection of that offer must be documented by the borrower, okay? Employees and employers should be aware that the employees who reject offers of reemployment may forfeit their eligibility for continued unemployment compensation. So if you do that, which is super easy, right? I'm not going to tell you how to document it. You got to just figure that part out yourself, okay? You're going to have to figure out how you would want to document that, whether it's a letter or an email, but it sure the heck can't be probably a text. It probably can, it 100% could not be, well, I talked to him on this date. You need to have it in writing. I recommend that you get them to sign something in writing. They acknowledge it. You have it. If you can't get anybody to respond, then you need to figure out how to get them to indicate to you that they're not coming back. And it can be you send a certified letter, and if they don't reply by a certain date, which you would put in the letter, maybe that's a way you can show that, hey, I offered it to them. I said, if you don't reply by this date, then we will accept your resignation, or we will accept that you're not taking our offer. But you have to have the documentation. There's going to be zero excuse on this when it comes to forgiveness time. Zero excuse, because it's so simple. But why? Because when you go to page 7 and 8 of the PPP forgiveness application, that's where it's talking about the salary and wage reduction, and there's a safe harbor. You don't have to include that employee where this is trying to ding you. The whole purpose of page 7 and 8, that calculation, and it's no secret, it literally says it, is to reduce the amount of your forgiveness. Okay, that would mean you spent the money, you spent it properly, but if you don't have that safe harbor, even the money that you would have spent properly could potentially not be forgivable, which would be, oh my gosh, you just got penalized. Like you're having to pay money back that you spent correctly because you didn't document this circumstance with your employee. And then there's another spot where this helps you. But on page 9, there's the FTE reduction safe harbor. The whole point of that calculation is to figure out if some of your forgiveness will not be achieved. So let me be really clear on this. You could spend it all perfectly in your mind, but you go through either one of these calculations, and this could cause maybe some of your PPP to not be forgiven. And what a crying shame that you just didn't have this letter, this email, or whatever it is that you're going to document. You just simply didn't have this one ridiculous piece of documentation per employee, and now all of a sudden you're having to pay back some of your PPP even though you spent it. And here's what you need to know. Don't try and figure out, with all due respect, this is the part where you're going to fool yourself, no disrespect, if you're like, well, how's that possible? And that's not fair. And it says if I rehire by June 30, when you shouldn't even be arguing with this in the sense of there's nothing to figure out. You go to the SBA FAQs on 40, and you're going to just see what you have to do. It's not even an opinion. Go to the FAQ, SBA FAQs, question 40, and it just says you won't get penalized. You won't have to count that employee when you're doing these safe harbor calculations if, and it says, and you must get the documentation. So instead of, well, what if I hire everybody June 30? Does that matter? What if, you just have to find a way to do it. You have to find a way to do it. Do not find a way not to do it, because what I'm finding is I'm getting a lot of questions, and the questions are just how to get, like, do I really have to do that? Or that doesn't make sense, or what, my point is stop trying to figure out a way to not do it, okay? And get it done. Because regardless of what you think, you will get a haircut most likely if you don't document that. You don't even need to figure out how and why, and if I do the calculation. This is the whole point of the video. Get the freaking document, okay? You have an employee that you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you, and they're like, I'm not doing it. You need to document it, okay? And then I have had other videos. I don't know. You need to consider, like, is that somebody that you would want to come back? Maybe. Who cares? Get it documented so you, as the employer, you don't pay the price for simply not documenting something your employee did to you, okay? And then your employee, it's not your problem, but your employee, when they say no, 100% risk, 100% that they're not going to be able to continue on the unemployment. And if it's later found out, they're going to have to pay it back. And how are they going to find out? Well, there's a lot of states that they're either requiring the employer now, or they're going to require the employer at PPP forgiveness to inform them, to inform the state, to inform the government that you did offer the employment and they refused it. Okay? Again, it doesn't matter if you're open or closed. Remember, that's at the end here. I'm telling you this. You can't get confused and now get sidetracked with, well, wait a second. You're saying if I spent it right, I could still get a haircut? You're saying that if I did at least 75% and no more than 25% and I spend it right, you're saying I can still have a haircut? Yeah, but instead of trying to figure out why that's true, you don't even have to believe me on that. What I do need you to do, and this is just the part I'm pleading with you, right? Because I'm on your side here. Get this documentation, my golly. Because here's what's going to happen as well. This is my prediction, is that you could also get penalized for allowing an employee of yours to be on unemployment incorrectly, right? This unemployment thing's no game. There's no crying that gets you unemployment. You either qualify for it or you don't, okay? It's not hard luck story. It's a single parent that it's so wonderful they're making more on PUA. The government doesn't care about all that, right? It's not because they're mean. It's just it doesn't have any factor. There's no emotion in whether or not you qualify for something or not. Okay? There are some states that you're required immediately to inform the unemployment office that you've offered it and they've refused. And then that employee doesn't get it. Okay? And now, what an imposition that puts you in, I understand, but it's the employee that put you in that position. That's the part I want you to remember. That's my closing thought here. Your employee created the circumstance, not you. Okay? You're offering to pay them what you've always paid them. And they're saying, no, I'm not taking it. That's equivalent of a resignation, regardless of what you're telling yourself, regardless of what the employee's telling you. That's the equivalent of a resignation. So at the end of the day, you fire them. Now your head count's down. You don't meet the safe harbor, right? So it doesn't help anybody to do that in terms of you. So you're in a rock and a hard place on this, other than you offer it, document it. All right. Again, go to my website, zero booby traps there. There's no, I'm only referring you to my website to just go and quickly get the FAQs from the SBA on the link that I'm giving you. And then I also have a link to the application so you can just go to them. There's zero opportunity for me to know who you are. You don't put in an email, or you can go find it on your own. But take that line 40. This is what a good CPA, EA, tax pro, even though this is outside of our realm, this is one of those areas that it's not trying to show you how to maneuver around to cheat the system. This is, if your employee's not doing what they're supposed to do and you're trying, this is how you don't get smacked up on this. So again, this is for the employers. All right. Hey, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And thank you for listening. Thank you for all the support. And get that documentation. If you need more advice on that, you'll have to talk to your attorney. You'll have to talk to the state agency, period. I won't be able to provide any further suggestions on that, because that would be, in essence, you need to get with your lawyer on how to fully document. I've given you some ideas. This is just for information, but make sure you've got something. And if your lawyer is going to cost you money to do it, then talk with your bank or get some friendly advice from the legal community in your area on this. So, all right, hey, thanks again. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me.